Muskwogee. Other animals, such as the American bison, once roamed these lands in much greater numbers. And as we enter this space, the ghosts of humans and other animals past are among us. We are called to understand the history of the land that we occupy and join in the work of education, reparation, and healing for all species.
Our purpose is to associate ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion as interpreted by the growing thought and noblest lives of humanity, hoping thereby to prove helpful one to another and to promote truth, righteousness, and love in the world.
This bond of union is reiterated in our mission to love radically, grow ethically and spiritually, and serve justly.
It's a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and you don't have to go it alone.
Today is the 6th Sunday of spring. The pink moon was full last Tuesday night and is now waning gibbous.
On the pagan calendar, Beltane, or May Day, is Wednesday, May 1st, celebrating the midpoint between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. Traditionally, in Ireland, it was the time when the cows were driven out to their summer pastures and rituals were performed to protect cattle, crops, and people.
On the Jewish calendar, Passover began at sundown last Monday and continues until sundown on Tuesday. The 8-day festival celebrates the Israelites' escape from slavery in Egypt.
On the Christian calendar, today is the 4th Sunday of ordinary time between Easter and Advent. Today is also observed as the 5th Sunday of Easter, counting up to Pentecost on May 19.
A special welcome to our visitors. For those of you on Zoom, thanks for tuning in. Please keep muted. And if you are here with children, there is childcare today downstairs, or feel free to keep the children with you or use the place in the back. Newcomers are invited to a UU Curiosity conversation on the first Sunday of each month. And of course, next Sunday will be the first Sunday, so we will have one after the service then.
Our connection circles are small groups that gather to explore monthly themes and build relationship. It's a key way we live out our mission to grow ethically and spiritually. Our theme for the month of April is love, and for May is courage. Issues of connecting on both of those themes are now available just outside the doors. We begin with the lighting of our chalice.
Please say with me the chalice lighting words in your order of service. Love is the center and foundation of this faith. Love is the power that holds us together as a community. Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of deeply loving and understanding how loved we are. Our responsive invocation is number 631, Passover words from Beth El Congregation. The side over here will begin with the words in the plain type, and then you all will read with Meredith over here, and we shall start. Love, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. What sacrifices would we make for freedom today?
What would we leave?
How far would we go? How deeply would we look within ourselves?
Our ancestors had no time to await the rising of the bread.
Yet we who had that time, what do we do to be worthy of our precious inheritance?
We were slaves in Egypt, but now we are free.
How easy it is for us to relive the days of our bondage as we sit in the warmth and comfort of our Savior.
How much harder to relieve the pain of those who live in the bitterness of slavery today.
We would would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Good morning. My name is Birch Spick. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I am your faith formation and congregational life coordinator.
And I'm still Meredith Garmon.
Membership in this community means so much to so many. This is a place where we grow with one another ethically and spiritually. It is a place where we commit to serve our world and one another more justly. This is a place which calls us to love radically. Each time we draw our circle wider by one person, we live into these missions and our values.
The membership affirmation is an occasion for all our members to renew the vows of membership. For like anything, church membership has meaning to the degree that we commit to it. To take a moment to say out loud that we are members, to embrace together some words that point in the direction of growing and deepening our faith is helpful and encouraging. To be a member here is to enter into the denominational covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Association, as well as the bond of union and the mission of this congregation. To be a member here is to assume an aspiration for the 4 P's of membership: presence, participation, pledge, and practice. So let's renew our membership covenant and reaffirm commitment to our principles, missions, and aspirations. And at this time, for all our members to reaffirm membership, we also especially recognize and welcome the new members who will be affirming the vows of membership for the first time. I will call the names of the people who have joined since we last recognized new members, and as I called your name, come on up and stand with Birch and me. Anna Bauer, Sue Beecham, Tyler Coe, Ruth Lindeen, Mike Lindeen, Jean-Claude Bonigaba, Dan Scholl, Chrissy Williams, James Williams.
I also want to acknowledge that Coleman Jackson and Kent Ohms, who have completed all of our membership classes, but could not be with us this morning. They will sign the membership book at another date. I invite all our members to participate with me in the words of the membership affirmation, those who are new and those who have committed to membership, some for years, some for decades. To our visitors, guests, and friends with us today, thank you for being here to witness this. We are honored to have your presence for this act of commitment and recommitment of our members. There is a yellow half sheet in your order of service that has the words of our member affirmation. Will all members now stand in body or spirit and respond with the words indicated on that yellow insert? I enter into and
Do you enter into?
oh. Do you enter into covenant as a Unitarian Universalist?
I enter into and aspire to live by the denominational covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Association as set forth in its Article 2 bylaws.
Do you enter into covenant as a member of this First Unitarian Church of Des Moines?
I commit myself in covenant with all members of the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines to associate ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion as interpreted by the growing thoughts and noblest lives of humanity, hoping thereby to prove helpful one to another and to promote truth, righteousness, and love in the world. This is our bond of union. I commit myself to our mission to grow ethically and spiritually, serve justly, and love radically.
You are entrusted with the authority to decide by your votes who shall be your officers, your minister, your budget, and whether to adopt resolutions of this congregation. With this authority come the aspirations of membership.
I accept the authority entrusted in me and will strive to give the Church the gifts of my presence, participation, pledge, and practice.
Thank you. Members of the congregation, please be seated. To our new members, as each of you has before you, as each member has here before you, you may sign our membership book to mark this covenantal commitment.
Who wants to be first? And we give to each new member a flower. For us, the flower is the symbol of individual beauty in the midst of a welcoming and nurturing community, and also a symbol of blossoming possibilities for us when we come together to be a faith community of memory and hope. We also have a document for our new members affirming our commitment to their support, and it includes our pledge to support them.
Anna's not here yet.
Kind of makes you want to quit so you can rejoin, huh?
Our newest members have joined with you today in affirming the covenant of membership. Let us honor them with the congregational pledge on the back of the insert from which we were just reading. And please say with me, we, the members of First Unitarian Church, welcome you here to our covenant and our shared journey to grow, serve, and love. We welcome your contributions, for through our common effort, we may nurture our spirits and help heal the world.
In gratitude, we
Accept the gifts of your beloved
to our beloved
community and your pledge of our presence, your participation, your Unitarian Universalist practice, and your support of our community. We pledge to support you and your families with friendship, goodwill, and respect. After the service has ended, please heartily greet our new members with the right hand of fellowship and welcome. And let us now make an exception to our practice of not applauding during worship, put our hands together in appreciation of these fine new members. Thank you all. Please join me in singing our children to their classroom downstairs with the benediction in your order of service.
Dear friends and honored guests, on behalf of Sacred Bridges Cups, I, Janae Veazey, she, her, hers, the communications officer, extend a warm welcome to the upcoming Pagan Jubilee Bealtaine, May 4th, 2024 event, right here at First Unitarian Church. Prepare to be enchanted as you wander through our mystical marketplace, where vendors will showcase a dazzling array of treasures to delight your senses. From crystals to crafts, there's something here for everyone. And for those seeking guidance from the mystic realms, we have tarot readers and a palm reader offering their insights and wisdom. Don't forget to indulge your taste buds at our food trucks, offering delectable delights to satisfy every craving. But the magic doesn't stop there. Our esteemed presenters are here to enlighten and inspire. Join local author and photographer Nina Wilson as they transport us through the lens of their camera into realms both seen and unseen. Experience the healing power of crystals with Wendy Stark from Wendy's Sublime Healing as they share their expertise and passion for these sacred stones. And Dr. Susan Harper will illuminate us with her expertise on tarot anatomy, seamlessly blending ancient wisdom and modern understanding. For those seeking a hands-on experience, join us for a drum making class where you can craft your own instrument to carry the rhythm of your heart. And as the sun begins to set, we invite you to join us in a sacred Bealtaine ritual in the labyrinth, where we will dance around the maypole together, honoring the turning of the wheel and the blossoming of new life. Special guest Bewitched Belly Dance will be participating in our ritual this year. Admission is free, and the event will be taking place from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. So mark your calendars and join us for a day of celebration, connection, and enchantment at the Pagan Jubilee Bealtaine event this Saturday, May 4th. Let the magic of this ancient festival ignite your spirit and illuminate your path.
Each year, we light the fire of commitment in our church. We build it and tend it and make it real one more year. I'm speaking to you, I'm Sally Buckholt, and I'm a member of our stewardship team who are responsible for helping to raise the money that keeps us going. I'm here to, first and foremost, thank you. So far, 178 families have made pledges for our coming year's pledge drive, totaling $493,000. Yes, praise be, tell you. This is great. Our budget needs are going to be met. I want you to know that we are at the point now where our status quo budget will be covered. I feel very confident of that. And the board will be looking at all of that next week. By the numbers, because I'm a numbers kind of gal, I just want to tell you that the needs of the church require an average pledge of about $2,000. Now, we know that not everyone can give $2,000. And we know that some people can give more than $2,000. For many years, many of you have helped to support those who couldn't give as much, and I thank you. For those who have not ever been able to get to that kind of pledge, thank you. We totally honor all levels of giving, and I want you to know how much we appreciate every single pledge that's made. We currently have about 50 families who are members who have not yet made a pledge, and I'm not going to name you, even though I see some of you in the audience today. I think you know who you are. So I will be in the gathering space after service. I have some pledge cards. I have my laptop. I'm happy to help you through the process if you are just uncertain about how to move forward to make your pledge. It is one of the 4 Ps, and it is a gratefully accepted one. I am so happy to see new members here. I want you to know we have 10 new pledges this year so far, and we had 56 families increase their pledge out of 178. So that is really good news. We will enter into search in a very healthy place. So thank you all for that.
My name is Ann Mowry. I'm a member of the pastoral care team for our congregation. If you just need one other person to hear and to hold with you whatever you might be going through, your pastoral care team is here to help you process any significant transition. Please speak to me or another member of the pastoral care team, or email pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org. We now collectively bear witness to journeys within our community. Ron and Eileen Bowerman and their daughter-in-law, Gina, will be holding a celebration of life for the Bowerman's son and Gina's husband, Chandler Bowerman, who died recently of a ruptured aneurysm. The family will hold a celebration of life at the Valair Ballroom Friday night from 6 to 10, and all are welcome. We learned this week that former member Dennis Becker died on April 11th after suffering from dementia for quite a while. He leaves behind his wife, Kay Becker, 3 daughters, 3 stepdaughters, and 6 grandchildren. There is a memorial service for him this afternoon at 2:30 at Resurrection Lutheran Church in Ankeny. 2 members need our healing thoughts, healing wishes for their knees. Martha Stevenson broke her kneecap due to a fall recently. She is getting around okay. I think I see her in the back there. Yeah, reports no pain. Susan Hurst had their first of 2 knee replacements on Tuesday, and surgery went well. And finally, join us in sending healing energy to member Susan Heathcote, who has recently undergone surgery and radiation treatments for breast cancer. She's living with their son and his family and enjoying being with her grandchildren. She hopes to get back to church when she has more energy. Let us share together now the names of anyone we know who could use some special care and attention. You may call the name out loud or type it into the chat. As we share these names, may the love of this community hold them all. Barb, Jan.
Dear Spirit of love, we see you in the hearts of caring people all around, building connection, building justice, building peace, simply carrying out jobs that contribute to the welfare of others day in and day out. We see you, Spirit of love, in the 20 million people who took to the streets across the U.S. on the first Earth Day in 1970, protesting environmental destruction, and in all the ways people continue to come together to reduce environmental harm, such as the people of Ecuador's new tech startup Ichthion, which has created a new way to remove plastics from rivers, such as the people of the EPA, who announced new rules this month about forever chemicals in drinking water, an initial stride toward a more comprehensive mitigation of these chemicals, such as European lawmakers who this week adopted binding targets to replace packaging waste 15% by 2040, such as the all-female ranger team of Maasai women in Kenya defending wildlife against poachers. We see you, Spirit of love, in the hearts of music therapists in Ukraine, using music to help children there navigate stress, articulate difficult emotions, and cultivate hope. And in lawmakers in Maine, who this week became the latest state to enact a protective shield law for healthcare practitioners offering reproductive, gender-affirming services. And in researchers developing personalized mRNA vaccines that could cure cancer. Spirit of love, we see you in the people of the New Nets Project, which distributed 56 million improved mosquito nets across Africa, averting an estimated 13 million malaria cases more than standard nets would have averted. We see you in the hearts of caring people everywhere. We thank you, Spirit of love, for these and for making us able to love. And with the capacity to love comes capacity to mourn. We mourn ongoing injustice, continuing destruction of species and ecosystems, and war in Ukraine, in Gaza and Israel, in Sudan and the Congo. Through all the beauty that surrounds us, and through all the tragedy, there flows a stream of ultimate joy. May we discern it. Mindful of this world of pain and of love, let us bring compassion to our every moment and be voices of justice and peace in all that we say and do.
May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world, and may we not look away when we are needed. May we confront what is cruel, heal what is broken, and delight in what is good. We light 3 candles, one for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us. For all of these, we now observe a minute of silence.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be filled. May I be filled with loving kindness.
Exodus 12, verses 21 to 34. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, "Go, select lambs for your families and slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and touch the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood in the basin. None of you shall go outside the door of your house until morning, for the Lord will pass through to strike down the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over that door and will not allow the destroyer to enter your houses to strike you down. You shall observe this rite as a perpetual ordinance for you and your children. When you come to the land that the Lord will give you, as he has promised, you shall keep this observance. And when your children ask you, 'Well, what do you mean by this observance?' you shall say, 'It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord. For he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he struck down the Egyptians, but spared our houses.' And the people bowed down and worshiped. The Israelites went and did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat at his throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. Pharaoh arose in the night, he and all his officials and all the Egyptians. And there was a loud cry in Egypt, for there was not a house without someone dead. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron in the night and said, 'Rise up, go away from my people, both you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord, as you said. Take your flocks and your herds, as you said, and be gone, and bring a blessing to me too.' The Egyptians urged the people to hasten their departure from the land, for they said, 'We shall all be dead.' So the people took their dough, D-O-U-G-H, before it was leavened, with their kneading bowls wrapped up in their cloaks on their shoulders." Thus endeth the reading. We come now to the offering. As the basket goes round, we remember again our values centered in love. And the 6th value, equity. Everyone has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness, and we commit ourselves to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. For the support of our values, the offering will be gratefully given and gratefully received.
The Jewish Holy Week of Passover began at sundown on Monday, April 22nd. The celebration of freedom continues 8 days through the evening of Tuesday, April 30th. The first 2 days and the last 2 days are full-fledged holidays, and the middle 4 days are semi-festive. The first 2 days commemorate the 10th of the 10 plagues of Egypt. In that final plague, the mystery beyond naming killed all the firstborn of Egypt, but passed over the Israelites, hence Passover. At this, Pharaoh released the Israelites from bondage. They immediately fled. They took their dough before it was leavened. They did not wait for the bread to rise. Pharaoh changed his mind and went chasing after them. A week later came the episode of the parting of the Red Sea, commemorated the last 2 days of Passover. This is not history. Scholars put the setting at about 1300 BCE, but historically, it never happened. But that is not the point, because it's not about ancient Israelites. It's about you and us. It's about freedom, yours and ours, right here and now. It's a narrative metaphor for us, as it has been to people through millennia. Bring out the festal bread and sing songs of freedom. Celebrate and reflect on this blessing of freedom. In parts of the world, full-scale slavery is still going on. If you're here today or listening online, then chances are that you are not enslaved in that full-scale way and never have been. Even so, I would guess that there has been a metaphorical land of Egypt in your past in which you were bound and from which now you are free. Bring out the festal bread and sing songs of freedom. And yet freedom is ever the half-won blessing. Modern pharaohs live unchallenged. Chains still there are to break, metal or subtle made. Resentments, large or small, bind us. A further exodus awaits us still. And further truth, bright as a burning bush, cries to become known. We who are not under an unrelenting grind of oppression, nor consumed wholly with mere survival, stand somewhere in the middle, between full-scale slavery and full-scale liberation. We have broken out of some fetters, but other fetters, or perhaps reconstituted versions of the old ones, have clamped onto us. The next step in the work of freedom lies before us. So bring out the festal bread and sing songs of freedom. Did you hear about the guy who was addicted to brake fluid? He said he could stop anytime he wanted. Well, we all have our addictions. Whether it's full-blown alcoholism or drug addiction or something we think of as milder, the key feature of addiction is that disconnect between what we want ourselves to do and what we're able to actually do. Passover is a time for celebrating the blessings of our freedom and also reflecting on what greater liberation would be. Pharaoh takes many forms of bondage, addictions to video games or shopping or work. We can be addicted to anger or to blaming judgment. What Pharaoh holds you in bondage in Egypt? Freedom is ever the half-won blessing. Its unfinished work lies before us. As they say in the recovery community, you can be consumed by your addiction, or you can be recovering, but never recovered. It is rare indeed for a human to attain complete freedom. New chains appear, old chains return, and their constraints are often so comfortable for a while. It's no easy thing to commit to a path of freedom, of liberation. Here are 4 questions. 1, can you make a decisive break with a big part of your past? 2, can you endure the sacrifices this will mean? 3, what about the effects this would have on others? 4, are there others who can go with you on this journey, who can walk with you on a path of liberation? The Passover story is a narrative for wrestling with each of those questions. As I said, it's about you. First, can you make the decisive break? This is the not waiting for the bread to rise part. Even under the worst of conditions, there is some leavening in the loaf. What? Give that up? Our addictions and our judgmentalism offer us creature comforts that are like a nice, hot, yeasty loaf. What harm could it do to let one more batch of dough rise? Is it really necessary for the sake of freedom that we make do with the blandest, unsalted crackers? Sometimes, yes, it is. At some point, we have to say, no more delays, no more putting it off. And that's going to mean something that was in the pipeline has to be abandoned. The bread won't have a chance to rise. Is that a reason to stay in bondage? It's those little rationalizations that keep us stuck, isn't it? Can you make the decisive break? Second question, can you endure the sacrifices? Unleavened bread is nothing compared to hardships and trials on the path of freedom. It's scary out there. The status quo has fierce armies to enforce its way. Days after leaving Egypt, the Israelites see Pharaoh's army advancing on them. They cry out to Moses, Exodus chapter 14, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you've taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we told you in Egypt? Let us alone and let us serve the Egyptians, for it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." Powerful resources are arrayed against you to enforce the old way. And you don't have the resources you need to support a new way. A few weeks after leaving Egypt, the people moan again to Moses. Exodus chapter 16. "If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt when we sat by the flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." The path to freedom is risky and uncertain. Can you endure the sacrifices? Third question, what about the effects this will have on others? Are you just being selfish, thinking about your own freedom? In the Passover story, the Israelite quest for freedom involves an enormous slaughter of Egyptians. The rituals, the paschal lamb, the unleavened bread, the consecration of the firstborn, probably, scholars think, predate the story. And the story probably took shape around pre-existing rituals. The rituals account for the story more than the story accounts for the rituals. It's impossible to know, writes the scholar Carol Myers, how much the narrative draws upon authentic experience and how much of it developed over time in relation to existing customs. Whatever its source, here we have this rather problematic story. Myers continued, "The intentional destruction of innocent life in God's slaying of the firstborn has long troubled readers of this narrative. What kind of deity was it whose deed could benefit one group at such expense of others?" Already in the early post-biblical period, rabbinic commentators sought ways to rationalize such a horrific act. The Israelites' path to freedom came at the cost of this tragic slaughter of Egyptian firstborns. Is it worth it? What is the cost to others of your freedom? Should the Israelites feel responsible for this tragedy to the Egyptians? It's true that liberation leads to compassion. The chains that hold you back more than anything limit your ability to be present and caring to others. But might it not be better to try to work with the chains you've got, dragging them with you, though they hamper and slow you? Put yourself in the Israelites' position. You hear that a plague is coming, and to protect yourself, you put lamb's blood on your doorway. Should you also be protecting your neighbors? Pharaoh got the same warning you did. In fact, he got 9 previous warnings in the form of the first 9 plagues. Water was turned to blood, there was a plague of frogs, then one of lice, then flies, then livestock pestilence, a plague of boils, of hail, of locusts, and of darkness. He got the warnings, but he hardened his heart. Actually, Exodus says repeatedly that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So is it Pharaoh's fault? Let's say you did tell your Egyptian neighbors to put lamb's blood on their doorway and they just wouldn't do it. Now they've lost their child and their grief is overwhelming. There was not a house without someone dead, Exodus says. What kind of God would do that? What kind of world would do that? What kind of world is it where there can be such enormous grief? It is more than you or I can fix. Your path to freedom occurs in the context of others' pain and loss, but your freedom is not the cause of their loss. Perhaps the Israelites' hearts went out to their neighbors. Maybe they asked, "How can we help?" And they were told to just leave, which happened to be what they'd always wanted. If there is a path of liberation for you, going back to school, quitting your job, changing the way you eat, changing your daily routine to include journaling, study, and meditation, and you hesitate because of the effect this might have on the people around you, you might just ask them. They might tell you, as the Egyptians told the Hebrews, just go, do it. What about the effects your liberation would have on others? A story about an activist I will call Gloria illustrates one way this question can play out. I met Gloria a number of years back in the aughts. Gloria worked for good, for policy changes that would increase fairness and reduce suffering. Gloria had anger that took her straight to blaming and condemnation. Those people in that other party are evil, corrupt, willfully blind, she said. Some of that party's supporters are simply dupes who are duped by the evil and corrupt others. Her anger and judgmentalism were her bondage. It was hard for her to give that up, to be free of those chains, because she saw them as integral to helping the people she wanted to help. So there's that question. How would your liberation affect those you care about? Sometimes we stay in the chains because we think we need them to be of service. Gloria was venting to me one day, and I remembered it's often the case that anger outward is a projection of anger inward, that negative self-judgments manifest as negative other judgments. As the saying goes, when I point the finger at someone else, there are three pointing back at me. Those people have no respect for other people, she said. So I asked, have there been times when you didn't respect others as much as you wish you had? And yes, there had indeed been times. Personal stories of regret and shame began pouring out. We'd made the shift from other blame to self-blame, a step maybe, but not a final destination. The path ahead to self-forgiveness and self-compassion, and thence to compassionate understanding of others, including one's political opponents, would not be easy. The liberating path would make Gloria a more effective activist, and certainly one who enjoys life more. She assumed she needed her chains of anger and judgment to serve the causes she cares about. The truth is that freeing ourselves allows us to more lovingly and more effectively care about others. Fourth question. Are there others who can go with you on this journey, who can walk with you on the path of liberation? Here, too, there is a lesson in the Passover story. Not one Hebrew ever walked out of Egypt alone, nor could any have survived in the wilderness alone. Freedom is a collective enterprise. We need each other to be free. Yes, there is necessary work that only you can do. You individually have to decide it can't wait any longer, can't wait for whatever batch of dough you're in the middle of to rise. You individually must choose the uncomfortable path. Once you do, though, you don't have to face it alone. There is other necessary work only we can do together. That's what a liberal faith community is for. Liberal as in liberty, as in freedom. Liberal faith community offers support, maybe some guidance, maybe some insight, maybe some affirmation and encouragement as we wander in the wilderness trying together to make our way to the freedom that is our birthright. You aren't responsible for everything. Sometimes you have to let go and let others manage on their own, but we are responsible for care and connection to one another. Walking a labyrinth might be a way you can bodily enact and reflect upon your path to and of freedom. Some years ago, I was asked to lead a labyrinth walk for about 50 people in rehab to recover from substance abuse. These were people wrestling with demons that I can only imagine. Somehow, summoning courage that they wouldn't have known they had, they made a break with their past lives. A sudden and dramatic exit from the comforts of slavery to their addiction. And they now faced the slow part, the rest of their lives, really, the wilderness to traverse, a new life of freedom to build. We gathered by the outdoor labyrinth. And a labyrinth is not a maze. It has only one path. Its lesson is let go of your need to control, trust the path, keep going, one foot in front of the other. You must go into your center, wind your way in. You must find what is there, and you can't stay there. You must return out to the world, bringing the true self you have found. As the Gospel of Thomas says, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. This was a group that knew a lot about what will destroy them.
freedom is our half-won blessing. The first half is straightforward and negative in a good way. No slavery, no masters, no overlords, no chains. The second half is paradoxical. We arrive at liberation by accepting the constraints of a discipline. By surrendering, by letting go and giving up, we gain. The first half involves being able to do what you want, but then you become enslaved to your own impulsive wants. So the second half involves liberating the true self from the bondage of the desiring self. The labyrinth is an exercise in freeing the true self by accepting the dictates of a prescribed path. When you walk a labyrinth, you wind around and end up at the center, and then take the path in reverse and go back out. Both journeys, the in and the out, are circuitous and terribly inefficient. The labyrinth's lesson is that the path and the destination are intertwined. They define each other. The destination isn't the destination unless it's reached by the needful path. Like Hebrews in the wilderness, you go around and around, often winding further out from your destination rather than closer. I instructed the group to notice the rhythm of their breathing and synchronize their steps with their breaths. It helps the mind quiet so that the path can take over. And then I stood by the entrance with my watch and I sent them in one at a time at 5-second intervals. The first ones in reached the center, hung out there a while, and started back while others were still heading in. And this too is a lesson. We encounter people who are heading in an opposite direction from us, who we could bump heads with, who might seem to be heading in a wrong direction, but there is only one path. We go in and we go out, and if you're in a going out phase and pass by someone in a going in phase, rest assured your positions will soon be reversed. Practice the gentle grace of letting others go by. And notice that doing this, you may have to take a step off your path to let them by. Others can knock you off, but never very far, and you can step back on again. Afterwards, the group and I retreated to an indoor space to debrief about the experience, and I heard from them how they valued it, how they took to its lessons, though some acknowledged they had been skeptical and dubious. Some spoke of how, yes, their need to control had to be tamed, and how good that felt. They spoke of how the path was not always clear. A layer of leaves had gotten thick, but they let themselves trust the person in front of them. And how good it felt to trust and follow, to not be alone on this path. We all have our addictions, and we're sometimes judgmental of others or of ourselves. Before us is a path of freedom from those constraints. It may take some discerning to see it. Once you do, take it. Go. You are not alone. There are others on the path waiting for you to join them. Go. Don't wait for the bread to rise. Amen.
Please join us in singing our closing hymn, number 220, Bring Out the Festal Bread. Please rise as you are willing and able. Festal bread and sing songs of freedom. Shout with the slaves who fled and sing songs of freedom. What modern pharaohs live in arrogance crowned, who shall be sent to jealous folly unbounded. Bring out the festal bread and sing songs of freedom. Shout with the slaves who fled and sing songs of freedom. Chains still there are to break their days on. festal bread and sing songs of freedom. Shout with the slaves who fled and sing songs of freedom. Long be our journeying, yet justice is worth it. Dance, Sister Miriam, and help us to birth it. Bring out the festal bread and sing songs of freedom. Shout with the slaves who fled and sing songs of freedom.
The last verse next year.
We were almost catching on. Please say with me now our unison chalices extinguishing words, as those of you at home extinguish your chalices. We extinguish our chalice, but not our connection, our concerns, or our care for each other. Love be our guide, going forward and always.
The promised land is but a way station. Pause there before the next wilderness awaits before you. Take courage, friends, and go in peace, making peace.